Today's gospel lesson is from Luke 16, verses 19 through 31. Hear now Jesus' story of the rich person and Lazarus. There was a rich person, clothed in purple and fine linen, who feasted sumptuously every day. And at the gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, full of sores, who desired to be fed with what fell from the rich person's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. The poor man died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich person also died and was buried, and being in torment in Hades, looked up and saw Abraham far off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And the rich person called out, Father Abraham, have mercy upon me, and send Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in anguish in this flame. But Abraham said, My child, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish. And besides all this, between us and you a great chasm has been fixed in order, that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from there to us. And the rich person said, Then I beg you, Father, to send Lazarus to my parents' house, for I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they also come into this place of torment. But Abraham said, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And the rich person said, No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent. Abraham answered, If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead. May God add understanding to this reading of the gospel.
Would you join me in singing the Gloria? It's number 812, the words are in the bulletin.
God, I thank you that I feel like I've been called once again to be your instrument, to be a vessel. Anoint my heart and anoint my lips, let the words I speak be your words and not my own. Remove me from myself and replace that with the movement of the Holy Spirit within me. And anoint the ears of those who would hear a message today, that whatever message they hear, it be the one that they need for this day on their faith journey. Amen. This is the only parable that Jesus tells us in which he gives his character a name. Lazarus. The name is the Latinized form of Eleazar and means God is my help. Lazarus was a beggar, covered with ulcerated sores, and so helpless that he could not even ward off the street dogs which pestered him so. Such is the scene in this word. Then abruptly it changes to the next. And there Lazarus is in glory and the rich man in torment. Why? What was the sin of that rich man? He had never ordered Lazarus to be removed from his gate. He had made no objections of Lazarus receiving the bread that was flung away from his table. He did not kick him when he passed by. He was not deliberately cruel to Lazarus. But the sin of the rich man was that he never even noticed Lazarus. The rich man accepted Lazarus as part of the landscape and simply thought that it was perfectly natural and inevitable that Lazarus should lie in pain and hunger while he wallowed in luxury. It was not that the rich man, it's not what he did that ended up getting him into a world of trouble. But it's what he didn't do that sent him to Hades. To hell. Tough word there. The sin of the rich man was that he could look on the world's suffering and need and feel no answering sword of grief and pity pierce his heart. He looked at a fellow person, hungry and in pain, and did nothing about it. His was the punishment of the man who never noticed. It seems hard that his request that his brothers should be warned was refused by Abraham. But it is a plain fact that if people possess the truth of God's word, and if wherever they look, there is sorrow to be comforted, a need to be supplied, pain to be relieved, and it moves them to no feeling and to no action, nothing will change them. It is a terrible warning that the sin of this rich man was not that he did wrong things, but that he did nothing. So today we must ask ourselves, what are we doing for the betterment of the humankind? Do we acknowledge the pain and the suffering of those around us? Or do we just accept them as the landscape of life? Perhaps we just feel it is too much for us, or that it is a bigger problem than what we can handle. Perhaps we take the easy way out and simply say, not my monkey, not my circus. The thing we must keep in mind is that this whole process of life is our one big, messy circus. And we must be aware of all that is around us. If we're not aware, we could face the same demise as this rich man in the parable. We could be judged on what we did not do and not on what we did. Now let us look at Lazarus. He was a man of great faith and trust, to daily endure the pain and the suffering that his life was presenting to him. Yet it seems that he was aware of all the things around him and did whatever he could to be the best that he could. Lazarus had a trust in the coming of the days to end his pain, and in the fact that he would one day be united with his Creator in heaven. That is all we can do in our lives also. We may not be able to take on all the challenges that we see in our society or in our world, but if we at least acknowledge them and try to do better, we are not committing the sin that the rich man did that sent him to hell. Sometimes it's the simplest things in life that are most needed. A smile to a stranger, or to say, have a nice day, even to the clerk at Walmart. It may be holding a door for a person that is just trying to get in out of the rain. Notice the world around you and do something. And then be grateful that you were the instrument to do something good. I'm going to paraphrase a posting from Reverend Jane Beach from yesterday. She wrote, when she began her Christian faith journey, she would begin to see good things around her and would whisper, God, you are here. As she matured along her journey, she began to notice that even in the midst of trial and tribulation, when things were sometimes going bad, she could now whisper, God, you are among us. No matter what we think, God has not abandoned us. God does not leave us. Even if the rest of society wants to. We have, if you haven't figured it out yet, a pretty stubborn God. We have a God who says, you're mine, and I will not forsake you. So don't let anybody try to do that. That is our hope. This is the way we begin to trust that things will be better. Better perhaps just for a fleeting moment, but at least we acknowledge life and do our best. That will take us to a place called salvation. And that's the place I'd rather be than in torment.